Subsurface approach, I don't know what that
I'll just keep a note on the minutes that.
Yeah, okay. One more thing before we start. Gavin, if Rick has to leave, will you take notes?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Ready? There we go. Welcome to the Board of Health meeting on Tuesday, November 29th, 2022 at 7 PM. Can I have a roll call, please?
Gavin Byers.
James Leclerc.
And Chris Nosella. Additions, deletions, we're going to say that we are having difficulty of being able to get the dial-in number working, so we are not using dial-in today. So let's go to,
I do have, so Carl had added
Yeah.
1.2.1.
yeah, I was just gonna,
So I have
So-
one more.
oh, you have another one
Yeah.
also? Okay, go ahead. What do you
So
got?
it'll be 1.3.1,
1.3.
and it'll really, they're going under 1.4, other permits for review. So it's 100 West Meadow Road, and it's a septic permit renewal.
Right, okay. And that is also, so they're both actually in the same place, 59 West Meadow and,
And 100 West Meadow.
yeah, okay. So, all right, so those are our additions, not anticipated within 48 hours. Let's go to 1.2.1, 59 West Meadow Road, septic transfer.
So really, it's just transferring to a new owner. So it was in Diane Silva, Joseph Idice, and Debbie Idice, and it's being transferred into Thaddeus Rochette's name. So it's just,
She purchased the property?
he must have, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's just transferring into a different name.
okay. So what does this mean?
Really just a signature, so the permit's exactly the same, everything remains the same except for the name on it.
Oh, okay.
A motion on that?
I don't know if we need one. Do we?
Probably not.
No, it's just a
Yeah.
signature.
Okay. And that's gonna be also the same with 100 West, I believe.
So 100 West Meadow is same owner, but they're requesting the one additional year that Title V allows. So again, permit doesn't change, just the expiration date on it.
Okay. Any discussion on that one? No? Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's, as soon as Gavin's all set, we'll open the public hearing for the septic regulation for reversing current Title V in Townsend 1.3, and that will be at 7:07.
So there should be a motion made to open the hearing.
Can we have a motion to open?
Can I make a motion to open the hearing?
Second.
7:07.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, discussion. Jim, you want to start us off?
Yes, Rick and I got together here a couple of weeks ago and we went through all the stuff I was proposing to go to the systems that were basically in place prior to my brief departure. And I'm going through there. Rick, would you kindly freshen my, I didn't get to see this stuff really.
Yeah, so
This is what we're looking at?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
the things that we had talked about.
Okay, let's go to page 3. You got the hyphens around there.
Yeah, so I think it makes more sense to start on page 9. and
Start
then
on
go
page 9,
back to
okay.
page 3. So the first real revision would be to section 12.9 for the tanks. And this was what Jim had originally asked to hold the hearing to talk about. So current regulations allow or require two compartment tank conforming to 310 CMR 15.224, which are the sizing requirements for two compartment tanks. And the minimum size is a 1,500 gallon. In a replacement, the same is required. And then an effluent filter is required on the outlet pipe of the second compartment. Jim wants to go back to the 2016 language, and that had it was two separate tanks were one option, so a 1,500 gallon tank followed by a 1,000 gallon tank. And then there was an option to do a 2,500 gallon 2-compartment tank. Replacement had the same requirements, and then the same requirement for the effluent filter, that was still a requirement in the second tank or second compartment of the 2-compartment tank.
So you're looking to go, excuse me, 1 second, I'm gonna write that down. You're looking to go to a 20, how big of a first
We can
tank?
either use 1,500 and 1,000, depending on the lot, the site,
Right.
down, round up, or we can go with a single 2,500, giving us a
Oh, you're doing
1,500 gallon storage
You're
tank,
doing 1,500,
and then the 1,000 gallon
1,000,
settling
okay.
area. You need the
Okay.
1,500 gallon because of the everything going into the tank to settle and separate. And by going to a 1,000 gallon tank, that doesn't give you the separation opportunity. And then by doing the 1,500 with 1,000 and or the combined 2,500 with 1,500 and 1,000 in one tank, you're getting the same results depending on the situation on the site. I think it would probably, now, go to you on this one, Rick, it would be cheaper to get a 2,500 gallon tank than the 2 tanks, right?
So we had, as part of this, when we started this process, Carla had gotten pricing from Lamar, so this was effective April 15th, 2022. And I think she had only gotten it a couple of months ago, so the pricing was still the same. So a 2,500 gallon 2-compartment tank was, and this is just for cost
Just,
of
yeah.
materials, $2,760. And then the 1,500 gallon tank was $1,155, and the 1,000 gallon was $905. And what you guys currently require as the 1,500 gallon 2-compartment, that's $1,295.
So what's the difference in that, Rick?
So if you're looking at the 2-compartment tanks, it's
700 bucks.
about $1,500
Mm.
for the 2-compartment tank, and the I think the 1,500 and 1,000 is actually just a little bit cheaper.
Mhm.
It's about $2,060. So it's about $700 cheaper than the
Yeah.
2-compartment tank to get the 2 separate ones.
Yeah, okay, so the first option obviously would be this 2 separate tanks.
Yeah.
And in most locations, 2 separate tanks will fit. If you get a real tight lot, they might have to go to the 1 single tank. But what's happening here, and I'm also gonna throw another question at you, Rick. When these systems are installed, what can we do as far as contacting the tank to find out the purity of the effluent in the D-box? To make sure that this is working, 'cause I know it's gonna work. It's just-
I mean, it really, the only people the majority of the people that are looking at that are Title V inspectors.
Yeah, but would the state come on and actually test the D-box, the water in the D-box? No way to,
And you could ask them, but I would put that in the probably unlikely category.
on the unlikely category, because they know something's gonna work, so they don't wanna bother with it.
Well, they've got their tests on there in Barnstable, so it might be something that they're already looking at.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, they require the 2-compartment tanks for anything other than a single family, and my guess is that, because of, certain uses like, restaurants or multifamily dwellings, you expect that there's gonna be more solids coming down, and
Correct.
2-compartment tank or tanks in series definitely allows for more settling.
yeah. All right. I know that the settling process works, and ironically, the second tank, there's never any scum in it, it's always flush. Everything goes to the bottom of the tank. You witnessed that. So, the separation happens in that 1,500 gallon area. When you choke it down to 1,000 gallons, you're removing a third of the tank. And you don't get the same period of time for that to actually separate. That's why I'm proposing a 1,500 gallon followed by the 1,000. And I know it works. Bud Johnson knows it works.
Yeah, well,
It's a
Jim,
proven thing.
we all know it work, I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
But
it also depends on how often you clean your tank.
well, the tank should be pumped on a regular schedule. The reserve part of it, the settling tank, that could go every 5th pump.
Right.
Because it's only gonna have stuff coming into the bottom of it, which
That's-
I've experienced myself.
Yeah.
By experimenting with my own system, I know it's working there
Yeah.
and how it's functioning.
Yeah.
So, and this is giving the purest effluent once again to the leaching facility. So you're gonna get the longevity out of the leaching facility, and when people go to refinance or whatever and go to pass Title V, they're gonna pass Title V.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and that's what this whole intention is about. There's no other reason than for, it's an investment in your property, if you want cruise control, if you just want a throttle pedal when you buy a car. Who wants cruise control? Well, we're giving them cruise control. It's
Well, you're making them take cruise control, you
We're,
know?
we're making, because of the fact it's
That-
going to work.
Your argument, and I'm only using
Okay.
it against you a
no,
little bit.
I just know that.
We know it works, Jim.
Okay, I'll stop.
No, we know it works, you showed it to Gavin.
Yeah,
Gavin knows it works. I wanna hear what Gavin thinks.
I'm fine with it in principle. I think there's a little bit around it that we kind of need to tighten up. I think that the cost is a little significant. It doesn't seem like a lot, but an extra $800 on a septic system is basically rounded up to $1,000. That's a pretty big percentage. It's, that's in the 10
on
to
a
15.
$20,000 system, which is the average cost of the system,
Yeah, it's another 5%.
you can waste that just as an extra fill hauled in. There's many ways to analyze and judge that.
Right. So there's I look at it worst case scenario, right? So you're talking about, there could be $1,000 in extra cost. There's if you gotta do 2 tanks, there's an additional excavation cost. There's an additional backfill cost. As we know, if you pull 10 tons of material out of the ground, you're gonna need 15 tons at a minimum to refill that same hole. It's just the way it works. When you add that to size of lot requirements and everything else, there starts to be a lot of little peripheral things that kind of tend to add up. I like the idea completely. I think there's additional things that we could do if we're gonna do this to sweeten the deal, where we're really taking care of all the X's and O's concerning the periphery around what the intention is, right? Just like the question that Chris had. So I fully agree with you in concept of this, 100%. I think we need to write in some sort of a little more comprehension into what is going on. Is there limitations? Are we saying this is for every household, every new construction?
All new installations.
1 bedroom
And
house.
upgrades.
1 bedroom house needs a 2,500 gallon 2 compartment tank.
That would be a different scenario according to the engineer, but when we go to the average 3-bedroom home, which we always build 3-bedroom or more, very few people build a single-family home today.
No, I agree.
We have single-family homes in Townsville still, and they're deeded that way, and 2-bedroom homes that are deeded that way. Now, that's a different scenario when you're cutting everything down, then go back to a 1,500-gallon tank, but the longevity of that is not going to last as good as it would last if it were a 2-tank system. This is where I'm at. And if you're looking at a 30-year mortgage, I'm looking at finances for homeowners that are paying taxes to the town of Townsend. When it comes time that they want to move, put a kid through college, and they want to exercise the equity in their properties, by having a system and after 20 years is going to pass Title V with flying colors, that's just money in the bank.
For sure.
For if you're spending just a magic number, if you're spending $300,000 to build a house, and it's going to cost you an extra $1,000 for a septic tank that's going to give you 30 years properly maintained with no issues, that's short money. So, as far as fine tuning the language, yeah, that's something I have no problem with fine tuning the language, but the way it worked in the past and what we're doing now, you might just be pushing a cart with a flat tire. Because to keep it simple and just go to the 2
Yeah.
tanks, cut and dry, this is what we have to have.
But my question, Jim, is you say that the 2 tanks are better than a split tank. You'll have to explain to me why.
The split tanks that we've been using
Yes.
have been 2,000 gallon tanks.
No, regardless of the size, we're gonna go with 2,500. The split tank as opposed to two separate tanks.
The two separate tanks, according to
Yeah.
Rick's judgment, this one was actually cheaper by the $800.
Yeah.
But then Gavin threw in the extra
Well,
excavating to set that second
You're
tank.
also looking at more plumbing too, because now you've gotta connect pipes to each
You
one.
have to do that anyway.
Not in a separate, not in a two compartment tank, you still got one in, it's already connected to
Yeah.
itself, and then you,
Yeah, but if you,
now you're gonna add a pipe in between the two tanks, because they're not gonna be sandwiched tight together, they're gonna be separated, right? So you're gonna add more plumbing that needs to be installed.
I think
And
that's
I'm
irrelevant.
not talking like
No.
thousands of dollars, but
No.
it's a cost that needs to be added into the project. But I don't know what it is.
I mean, it's probably, a stick of PVC is probably about $90 right now.
Yeah.
So you're probably talking about 5 feet, 45 bucks or
And
something.
how much is installation time?
It's pretty comparable because you still have that U-baffle inside the dual compartment tank, so
Yeah.
it's probably pretty comparable. It's just a longer piece of pipe.
Yeah, okay. That's only my concern. It's
That's
just
what we're
another-
having this discussion
yeah,
for.
Yeah, another cost. So I almost think that listening to what Gavin's thinking, and I didn't actually think about it until you mentioned actually about the different size houses to the different size tanks. We would have to put language in so that a two-bedroom house can get a 1,500 gallon two compartment, and then three bedrooms would get that, and do we go like to I'm only asking because this is your thing, like a 4-bedroom, go to a bigger one, and I mean, I don't know the volume rates for how many bedrooms to do each thing.
Usually that just goes to the sides of the field. They don't even judge the tanks for that. Right?
Oh,
So
is that-
the
it's
tanks are
basically
sized,
the-
so it's,
Okay,
your daily flow, it's 110 gallons per day per bedroom, and the tanks are sized 2 times the daily flow for the first compartment or first tank,
yeah,
and 1 times the daily flow for the second compartment or second tank. So, 2,500 gallon, 2 compartment could handle up to, 7 rooms, I
7?
think.
7 bedrooms?
7 bedrooms. I'm
That's a
pretty
little
sure.
excessive for me
Thank you.
that's a little excessive for a 3-bedroom house to have a tank.
Yeah, and with
That
just,
would work
with just
for
a
a-
single tank and no settling area, think of the damage
No,
that
no,
does
no, no,
to the
I'm
leaching facility.
all into the set,
Mhm.
but I'm thinking if you're looking at a 1,500 gallon tank plus 1,000, you're talking about a tank that's good for 7 bedrooms. Someone with 3 bedrooms doesn't need one that big.
I have 2 people in my
Yeah.
house. I have a 3-bedroom
Yeah.
home.
I
And I got
understand
6
yours is-
inches of
yeah,
settlement,
Yeah,
of
right,
sludge
right,
in my pump chamber as we speak.
yeah,
Because I've let it go intentionally to see what was gonna happen.
okay.
And it's my wife and I using it. We don't have a family.
I understand, and
So-
I don't either, it's just me and my.
Every,
Yeah.
every household, depending on who's living there and who's using the facilities, they're all going to be slightly different.
Yes,
Now, the question I was gonna ask of Rick, when we deed a 1-bedroom house and they have to have an upgrade,
Yeah,
what, do they still have to put a 1,500 in that?
yeah, because that's a minimum size.
That's the minimum size for the state, period.
okay,
So
okay,
the state set that regulation.
right. And we can obviously go over and above, we can't go on.
Right.
Okay,
And when they're deeded that they can only have 1 bedroom and they still have to have a 1,500 gallon tank, that's kinda crazy. But I recommend for them, you get a 1,500 gallon split tank, so you get
Right.
1,000 gallons
yeah.
and a 500 settling.
Yeah, okay, I didn't realize it was more to do with the field than the actual tank
The
itself.
fields are the ones that take the abuse.
Okay,
The fields are the ones that fail and the fields are the ones that are very expensive.
yeah, that's what you were saying, that's where all the money in
And
the,
by
System
giving it the
is.
sweetest effluent we can,
Right.
so it's gonna last in excess of 30 years,
Mm.
that's all money in the bank. I've said it before, I'll say it again, they're not making any more sand.
Yeah.
They're not making anything cheaper.
Yeah.
They're coming out with new technologies that haven't even been tried. When these things start failing,
yeah.
they're gonna wish they had done something different. So by doing this suggestion,
Well,
knowing it works,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. And as far as fine tuning and tweaking it, with a machine on site to punch the 2 holes in They're gonna be moving material off the site most likely because they're gonna have to come in with the real stuff to put into the leaching facility. The only other place for that to go would be in the runoff sloped area. Sometimes that can all be used in that area, so they don't have to haul it off site,
Right.
being conservative on the materials.
Yeah, now, as far as like, I can remember you saying something about there's a shortage of sand.
Well, we can't get sand, it's coming out of up in Westminster and
Okay.
the other side of
All right.
Gardner, and they're trucking it all the way into Boston.
Right. so-
Nobody will let anybody open a sand pit in their town.
Okay.
Nobody wants that. So when these pits all exhaust themselves, where are these materials coming from?
So it wouldn't matter if we put
But
in a 10
if-
million gallon tank, if
If
there ain't no
you put in a
sand, there
30
ain't any
year,
sand.
if you put in a
Yeah.
15-year system and
Yeah.
it fails in 15 years, you
Right.
have to find the material to rebuild that after 15
Yeah.
years. By putting in a nice system that's gonna last in excess of 30 years,
Yeah,
not many people have to worry about that.
Right.
It's
no, I get you.
it's a done
Yeah,
deal.
I'm just wondering, but the sand running out, that's more of not a town problem, that's more of a state problem.
Doesn't matter whose problem it is, when
Yeah.
there's no more sand, what are you gonna put in the backyard to create a septic system?
Eventually, the state will have to step in and do something about it.
Well, we could be
We can't just- yeah.
triggering, we could be triggering something right here in Townsend to show the state that this works.
Let's build a pit. All we gotta do is turn Townsend upside down and we'll
Yeah.
be fine.
When you see all these tractor trailers running down into Boston to bring the sand for the
Yeah.
winter for the roads,
Yeah,
we don't have enough sand available and it's getting worse every year.
yeah,
None of the towns are allowing pits to open up.
right,
It's gonna be a mess. I'm predicting it at my age.
yeah,
I've seen it go from $1.25 a yard
Yeah.
to $15 a yard. Where's it gonna go up to that?
In my lifetime, I've seen cigarettes go from 58 cents
There
to
you go.
$12, but
There you go, I was
They don't-
pumping
there's
gas
no-
for 34 cents a
there's
gallon.
no
as a
shortage
teenager.
of tobacco.
So we're looking at the longevity for
Yeah.
our town
Yeah,
to give them the best bang for their buck for longevity on their septic system.
understood.
And that's where my goal is, and if you want to agree with me, that's fine. If you don't,
Yeah.
that's why we're aboard.
No, I like the idea. Definitely the settlement tank is big. I guess it's cheaper to do 2 tanks than 1, which makes 0 sense to me, but,
It's
Yeah.
the size of the casting when they're doing it in the plant.
yeah.
There's a lot more involved with a single casting tank.
Yeah. So the tanks are basically identical, just smaller sizes? As far-
They're pretty similar footprint.
Yeah.
The 2500 compartment is deeper, so it's
Yeah.
a 3-piece tank instead of a 2-piece tank.
What's that, the one that we use now?
So the one we use now is just a top and a bottom and a middle baffle.
Okay,
The 2 compartment 2500 is a top, a bottom, a middle, and the baffle.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a deeper hole.
Oh,
So that's why it can't go in every application.
right.
And that's why we're trying to give them an option to go.
Oh,
with
so
the
you actually want to do both of these?
Both of these would be the same gallonage.
Right.
And it-
No, it's just, you're giving them, all right. I misunderstood. I thought you just basically wanted to do the 2 tanks, and I'm thinking you want to give them an option to do
It's
either.
an option to go either way depending on the lot.
Right,
They might run into ledge or something, and they can't even get the drainage to go in. There's a
Right.
lot of unforeseen situations when you work in the field.
yeah,
You dig these holes and you install these systems. I
okay.
can vouch for it because I've
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
On Highland Street, in Lunenburg, I had to put a ledge tank in. I had to get in there with a jackhammer and had to blast out 6 inches of ledge. That was the most monotonous, boring, time job I ever did.
Okay.
Remember that? I think Jim Gariffi was in charge over
Yeah,
there.
it
at that
wasn't
time.
it was either Jim, it was probably Jim.
It was probably Jim. Yeah, but anyway, we had to put
Yeah.
a ledge in. The ledge tank is a starter tank with larger diameter or
Okay.
outside dimensions.
Yeah,
So we have to make it work for people when they're gonna
Right.
do things.
Okay.
And especially with field systems, we gotta
yeah,
bring them up, but.
So,
yeah,
from 2016 to 2019, we were basically under this,
Correct.
right? How did things go during that time with the systems that we were putting in?
I mean, there were only, this was 2019 that this change was made, so we're really only 3 years into it.
3 years in.
So I don't know, I don't think it's really a great,
half of them probably have
their
their
new
new pump
system,
jet.
so it's not a great,
Yeah, the ones across the street,
How
from me,
was
all
it-
those are 2 tanks.
How was it before when we were
My
doing
neighbors did.
2,500 gallon?
so that
compartment.
was, I mean, that requirement was there, so the 2,500 gallon 2 compartment came in 2016.
Yeah,
Prior to that, it was a 1,500 gallon and a 1,000 gallon. tank that they required, and I think that was since around 2004 maybe.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
back for a little
really?
while.
Wow.
And you know, there aren't a whole heck of a lot of systems that fail that have been put in since 2000. And most of them are older systems, like Timberley Park that was put in the 60s and 70s. A lot of those systems are starting to fail now. But they're older systems. I mean, they're really not.
Yeah, and they're leach
newer
pits too, they're not actual leaching fields.
Oh, they're
Timberley
not?
Park leach
Yeah, a
pits.
lot of pits, yeah.
Yeah, oh, really?
Yeah, and they were put in with SCR 35 pipe, they ran over them with backhoes, crushed the pipes, and only one of the pits got used. I saw that so many times doing inspections. That's why we went to Schedule 40, because it doesn't do that, and
Yeah.
it's been noted to me that it's an easier system to install because the pipe is rigid.
Yeah.
So it's easier to put together, you
Yeah.
can get your elevations much easier,
Yeah.
and it's a done deal.
Yeah. I got no problem with that. I'm all in favor of Schedule 40. I can't believe.
Schedule 40, it works, and when you're putting
I can't
something in the
believe they
ground
use-
for longevity, you want it to stay
What did
there.
they use for pipe then?
SCR 35, thin wall, drainage pipe, that you put in a perimeter drain around a house. That's what they were
Seriously?
using, yes, in leach fields and the whole bit.
Well, SDR 20 was used for a little while too, and
Yeah.
that's pretty floppy.
Oh my God.
That stuff I mean, a
Jesus.
150-pound person could
Yeah, step
Fresh
step
on
on it and pretty
Yeah.
much.
And when you drive over it with a rubber tire, track machines aren't so bad, but rubber tires, the backhoes and
Yeah.
stuff. Today, most everybody's got mini excavators,
Yeah.
but they still go on with some rubber tire machines. And soft sand, they're supposed to be compressed, etc. They don't do it, they run over these, I've seen it. I've done a lot, crushed in the ground.
Yeah. Wow.
The effluent couldn't even get to the leach pit.
Jesus. Wow. All right, Gavin, what else you got?
That's about it.
Yeah, so how do you
So
want to,
simplistically,
Hmm.
if we were to make this change as simple as possible, it would basically just say, because I don't have the revision language or the language from 2016, but basically everything would be the same, except we would say the minimum size shall be 2,500 gallons.
Yeah, and then it would also
Equal
give you
to.
the option for the 1,500 and 1,000, two separate tanks.
Some places can do that, other places would have to have a single tank.
So, okay, that makes sense. But the 2,500 gallons is the basis.
The volume of the effluent.
Whatever the configuration is.
Correct.
It is, but it's 2,500 gallons, whether that's two tanks.
1,000 gallon, 1,500 for the septic tank capacity, and 1,000 gallons for the settling capacity.
Settling capacity.
So that's what it was previously.
Yeah,
And then, you know, you guys, if you wanted to, you could put language in there that would say minimum size requirements for a smaller house if you wanted to build it in there. I mean, there's always options for people to request variances.
Sure.
But if you wanted to give them the option without having to go through the variance process, you could do that as well.
even on the 1 or 2 bedrooms, to go back to the 1,500 with the 1,000 and 500 settling, that's still better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's gonna work because you're not gonna get the flow that you're getting, per se, with a 3-bedroom. And once again, it depends on the occupancy also, how many people are using it. So we can only do the best we can to make these systems last as long as possible. And the abuse and neglect, that's up to the homeowners, that's not up to us. And when everybody gets a pamphlet too, how to take care of your systems, when to pump and the whole bit, that's part of the whole deal.
Yeah.
They all get instructions with their septic system.
Yeah.
you wanna, you need to research or anything
No.
longer? We can.
No.
Okay.
No, I did a little bit of reading. So there's the surface drain and then the definitions that are earlier on.
Yeah, so that's section 13 on page 9. So potentially deleting the subsurface drain offsets and the open surface drain offsets. And those were just, you know, they've been problematic in the past. Title V has much smaller offsets, so it's for subsurface drains that intercept a high groundwater table, they're pretty similar. But for anything else, they're like, I think they're 10 and 25 foot offsets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you know, the issue is you don't really see lateral travel of effluent. It's mostly going down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think the offsets, you know, reflect how a system operates. And the one that I can think of is that one on 41 Adams Road. And I can't remember whether this was the board at the time or not. But you know, we ended up finding out he had a drain. It was going into a catch basin. It was basically catching water way up on the property and bringing it down. It was a solid pipe and glued joints. I mean, there shouldn't have been any
remember that one,
infiltration, but it
actually.
became an issue. There was one other one that I can think of. But Title V has offsets and they seem to be more reasonable based on what you would expect for effluent travel.
Mhm.
And so, potentially deleting that and then just going back into the definitions and getting rid of those definitions if they were gonna be removed.
That makes sense.
Can I go back in time a little bit?
Yes.
When I first got on the board, I didn't know a thing about what I was doing. Nothing. I was as green
I can
as
relate.
a spring leaf. And we had a lady that was on the board, she's passed away now, and I've said this before, but she was also on conservation at the time. And she was using the side of the septic tank, if the leaching facility was all the way over here, 100 feet to the well in the woods. And at one of our meetings, I said to her name was Michelle, I said, Michelle, you're on conservation, aren't you? She says, yes. I said, the state reg is 100 feet from the leaching facility, and you've made these regs 100 feet from the septic tank, which is gonna put it 135, 140 feet from the leaching facility. And meanwhile, on conservation, you're making everybody cut through the trees, all the vegetation, everything there, you're tearing up to put a well out in the wood an extra 50 feet. Is that really conservative for conservation? She looked at me, she didn't know whether to poop or go blind. And she says, you're right, Jim. I says, I suggest we bring that right back to the 100-foot offset the state recommended. And that's how the well stopped going in the woods so far. Because you're just destroying, getting the two trucks out there, the water truck, the drill truck,
Oh my
you destroyed
God,
everything. So, that changed that problem. Anyhow, this is the proposal, it was in effect before, it worked very well. Why it was changed in my absence for a little while, I just think there wasn't enough knowledge.
There
And
was
I'd like-
no knowledge at all.
Well, I'm not pointing any fingers, I'm
No,
only having a
I will
conversation.
admit that I had no knowledge of this at all. I still have minimal, but I'm learning, thanks to you. I think as far as the tanks go, I think we can come to an agreement on that. There are some other language here, Rick, that you've got clouds around?
So yeah, just,
You wanna
further
go-
down page 9, so like we talked about, potentially deleting the subsurface drain and open surface drain offset requirements and the definitions on page 3 that go along with it. Or page 3 and page 4. And then also the note underneath the table that refers to the open surface drains.
What page is the open surface drain on?
Page 9, and then the
Oh, that's all
definitions are on
there,
3 and 4.
No.
Yeah, and that would be going back to the state regs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm 100% agreeable with that myself.
So
And that's from the experience working in the field installing these systems.
is this something that we have currently?
That's what you have currently.
Yeah,
And we're gonna change them
Back to
to
the state.
being less?
Just delete them to go to the state required offset.
Oh, okay.
take them right out of the picture.
So we're gonna say refer to state regulations?
And we go back to state regulations on all those drains, yes. And once again, they're sealed drains, as Rick mentioned, with a sealed drain,
Yeah.
the water's staying within the pipe.
Yes.
It's not going in, it's not coming out, it's going through.
So is that all those were for, is if the pipe leaked?
Somebody thought pipes were gonna leak after they were sealed up and everything else. Who put all this stuff into place? This was here when I got here.
Oh, really?
This was, yeah, at least in the 2004 version.
So this is back when they used clay pipe, is that what you're talking about?
No, this is after clay pipe, it was plastic, but clay pipe had just gone out of existence.
Okay, so we're actually eliminating the open surface drain, basically everywhere.
That would be just like a grass swale, that's how it's,
Yeah.
it's defined.
Okay,
And Rick made a comment a little while ago that all that effluent that goes into the facility goes down, it doesn't go out.
Right.
And when you see all these retaining walls built around the leaching field,
Yeah.
it's just a waste of money.
Yeah, and
Well-
even when they fail, there's still, it turns into more of a swimming pool as opposed to lateral travel.
well,
It just-
if you actually look at them, and I've only seen really one done, which is my mother-in-law's, because I can't remember, I think Kevin Smith did it. And it was basically a big pit with a shit ton of stone and filled with a whole bunch of sand. basically, just basics over the pipes. Well, where the hell do you think it's gonna go sideways?
You can't.
It can't, it goes
I
down.
don't know where they come up with this BS.
Yeah.
We got one right down on Tyler Road, right past where the new house is. All the walls on that concrete, they're all busted out at the corners.
Yeah,
They spent thousands of dollars putting concrete walls in,
Yeah.
and they're ready to fall over.
Well, they're clearly not 100 feet away from they didn't put drains in
But
behind the walls.
you talk about a waste of money that somebody paid interest on for 30 years. My God.
Yeah.
Unless they're rich and paid cash.
What the-
Are they looking to adopt?
I was just making it. I drove by that when I first got into Townsend, and I drove by it right after the leaves come off the trees.
Yeah,
And I looked at that and I said, I can't say what I want to say because the camera's rolling.
yeah.
But who was the brain dead engineer that designed that? And would he want to put that in his backyard?
So he put concrete walls and then.
Take a ride down Tyler Road.
Yeah.
Right when you get to the first little right turn, then look at the house. Right before the house, look through the tree line. And you'll see this foundation around the septic system that's just falling apart. Now, who's going to be the Einstein to go in there and remove all that concrete if it ever fails or when it fails?
Would that fall under like a septic tank where you'd have to smash it and leave it in place, or?
you'd have to remove it.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so it's not as cheap as you
Becomes
think.
solid waste, yeah.
Yeah.
So, for what it costs to put it in, it's going to cost 4 times to take it out.
The
Okay,
last question, so the only difference between, let's say somebody needed a 2-bedroom house and they needed a variance. The process for a variance versus a non-variance is essentially the same, right? You're still gonna get engineered drawings,
Yeah.
it's still gonna come here, and you're gonna say there's a variance or there's not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
so you
really
guys-
not much of a
You
difference.
don't have a butter requirements within your regs, so they don't have to notify butters if they're requesting variances. I mean, there are some within Title V that require it, so well offsets, property line offsets.
Sure.
But generally, they don't, they're just kind of an extra discussion as
Okay.
opposed to an extra process.
Right, I got you.
my other concern would be is like we talked about the size of the tanks and with like a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom house. With having those written up the way we're proposing, the 1,500,000 gallon 2 tanks or 1 tank, whichever it might be. And we know that 1 and 2 bedroom house will work on a 1,500, right? Do we need to, should we let them know that they don't have to do a 2,500 gallon tank?
That would be up to us to notify the engineers, et cetera, when they're doing it. Rick would be kind of in the middle
Yeah.
there, because they probably call you and ask for recommendations, right?
They'll usually ask me stuff out on the
Yeah.
site.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really answer, but if there are variances that you guys have kind of set a precedent and granted, then, let them know that that's happened, but if, it's, something that hadn't been requested, so if it's a new variant, or new regulation that nobody's requested a variance for, it's tough for me to answer for you guys.
So that would be something, even if the engineer came in and had it all done up, we could say, no, just like the tank we had moved.
Right.
We moved it 15 feet.
Right.
When that situation comes in front of the board, whoever may be on it, well, hopefully they got some intelligence, then they could say, no, you don't need that much, you can just go with a 1,500 split tank. That's something that can be done by the board,
Okay.
so.
Yeah,
Yep.
my only concern is we do talk about costs to people because not always, like you get some old people, like we did a great job, this board, of reeling in all of the past failed tanks that no one did anything about for years. We got them all back into code, this board. I'm a little concerned with old people that have to do this, like get a failed system and, have a 1-bedroom, live by themselves, and not know that they don't need this. That they can get away with the 1,500 gallon tank. I would like to see something in here that might say, like a 1 and 2 bedroom can have a 1,500 gallon 2-compartment tank, but not recommended by the board.
Well, we can just have our variant, our regulation, just
Yeah.
go 3-bedroom and above,
Okay.
requires, you know.
That's an excellent way to
Yeah,
put it, Gavin.
that's
That's excellent.
pretty much the same thing,
I
but,
could come up
Three-bedroom
with
and
some
above.
language that would
Yeah.
essentially say that.
yeah, I think that would be the best way to do
Yeah.
that. You know, cause listen,
Then,
this isn't all,
then it's
Yeah.
not really on Rick
right,
to have to interpret
right.
and talk around that piece.
yeah, okay,
It's laid out straightforward.
okay,
And more than likely, when we get into a situation,
Mm.
I feel with somebody with less than 3-bedroom,
right,
we're gonna approve a variance for a 1,500 gallon
Right.
2-compartment anyway.
Mm.
So rather than add that step, if we take care of it now,
yeah.
Putting that wording right in
Yeah.
here does it,
3
Gavin.
bedrooms and above,
That was excellent.
I'm all in favor of that.
That was
yeah.
excellent, yeah.
All right, so we'd go with, we're gonna go with the 1,500 gallon tank and 1,000 gallon,
well, Rick
what's
will
the
be able
second
to.
tank called?
Yeah, I'll come
Settlement
up with,
tank.
I know what you guys
Yeah.
are saying, so
Yeah.
anything bigger than a 3-bedroom,
Yeah.
you're gonna go to that 2016 language.
Yeah,
1 and 2 bedrooms, they
Right.
can stick with the 1,500 gallon
Yeah,
2-compartment that you
two-compartment,
currently
yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, cause that's,
Rick-
I think that's something
Rick,
that's
Rick
huge.
can listen to the lingo, cause he did doing it just like I did.
Yeah,
So, and that's all
Yeah.
understandable. I can't do tattoos, so
well, I can,
I
don't know
just
what-
throw a can of paint at him and say, how's that look?
I'd do that, and they'd be like, ow, not that deep, I'd be like, I didn't know.
So anyway, I know Rick's got it all
Yeah.
together. He did a nice job on this, by the way. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rick.
Yeah, no problem.
So there's, nothing else, Rick, that you
then-
think we need to change,
Jim
or?
had brought up, so it wasn't anything that's in here right now, but potentially adding offsets to suction lines. So,
What is an
Say that again,
offset?
Rick?
so suction lines you had brought up?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
for wells that have a suction pump as opposed to a submersible pump that's a pressure line from the well.
Okay,
So, you know, with the suction line, obviously, you've got the potential that you have a leak and then it is sucking in anything that's around it.
okay.
So right now.
So that would put the
we go
pump
to-
at the top of the wellhead,
Pump in the basement, actually.
in the, oh, it's right into the basement,
Yeah.
okay.
They got jet pumps. It's still, it's a 2-loop system.
Okay,
And you can get a single pump too on a shallow well that just has all suction line.
So right
It's
now,
when you get to the
they're-
artesian, it goes to the, well, the motor and the pump in the bottom of the well.
Right.
And that's a pressure line.
okay. I thought they were all like that.
Mm-mm.
No, well, okay.
so right now, yeah, there is no requirement from the suction line. I believe it's just from the pump itself. So the, or it is suction line. So private water supply well or suction line is offset 50 feet to the septic tank, 100 feet to the septic system.
Isn't that a little bit marginal? We know the upland goes straight down. Why would it have to be 100 feet?
I mean, that's what Title V is.
That's state right
That's state
there.
reg, yeah.
Once
so-
again, so we have to abide by state.
Yeah, and I would say that that's pretty, pretty conservative.
Yeah. And in the event that we couldn't get those dimensions, we can give a variance on that too, can't we?
You can, yeah,
Okay.
local upgrade approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've actually done that.
I'm sure we have. I don't recall one, but I'm sure we
Yeah.
have. Because there's places you get into funky lots.
But
And
just,
you
just
can't
look,
get those
just look at
distances.
it's on the road, I mean, it's the size of this table,
Yeah.
you know?
So I would say probably nothing to do there.
Yeah,
And then the only other things were just adding some language on page 11. It's regulation 16.2, and just clarifying that if a 2-compartment tank is used, so it says inlet and outlet covers, both inlet and outlet covers shall be equipped with risers so that the cover is at the grade level. And just clarifying that if you use a 2-compartment tank, all 3 of those openings of the tank are considered inlets and outlets and require risers to finish grade.
Correct.
So just kind of clarifying that that's the requirement for that particular tank.
And the reason for that is so that when you go to have your tank pumped,
Yeah.
you don't have to dig down 30 inches, 4 feet to get to the tank. The rise is right there for
I
you.
actually had one put on mine because
Yes.
I got tired of digging it up.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And they make the world of difference. So
Oh, yeah,
I
Now,
believe,
do
do
they
other
put-
towns have that reg, Rick?
Not that I'm aware of.
No,
I would've
that's a
considered
Townsend.
that, that must have been one that you guys did or
Yes.
something, because
Yes.
my neighbor who has the, I think the 2,500, the 2 tanks, has risers, there's actually 4 covers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess, what are they, both pump covers for
They're inspection covers mainly, but when you want to pump, you just pop off the steel lids and you're right there to
Yeah.
pump. There's no issues having to dig up.
Oh, so
find
you
it.
don't actually have to pop all four to pump it, just?
No, you don't have to pop off
Oh,
or
okay.
pump it, just
Oh,
for
those are
inspection.
inspections, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I will admit that I did make sure that I got into these
Yeah.
regs because of the fact so many people had deep tanks.
Yeah.
And it took forever and a day, and if you didn't have proper location on the
Oh my
tank,
God, yeah.
you had a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't find how to get to your tank.
Right.
And that's why we put the risers on our tanks.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had one put on mine,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
You don't have to like go out and dig the thing 2 days before the guy comes.
Correct.
He just comes out, pops the cover and pumps
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about playing grass on that every few years.
That's the name of the game. You know exactly where your tank is, and if there's any problems, you get quick, easy access.
Yep.
Makes a big difference.
No, I'm all in favor of that, that's for sure.
Does the concrete cover stay?
It's a steel cover.
It's a
The
steel,
oh,
yeah.
so you
Looks
put
like
the
it's just
steel
a
cover
manhole
on the
cover.
top?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, can you get like odor out of that? Like,
No.
They're pretty tight.
No.
Yeah.
they're that tight?
Yeah.
I mean, they do sell gasketed ones. Most people don't use it because they're
No.
more for commercial uses.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're tight.
They're pretty
Yeah.
tight.
I don't get any
That-
smell out of mine.
That's
I
what the
actually
vent
have
is for in the
plastic.
house, to suck all that gunky smell out of that tank.
Right.
They're
I mean,
supposed
you
to be
guys-
vented for that purpose.
You don't specify the cast iron covers either, so a lot of people end up using their like
Well, I actually
just
have a-
poly covers.
Yeah, I
and
have
They,
pull
they,
that from
they have
the-
plastic ones now also, yeah.
I have the poly cover.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, he goes, you can run that over all day with your lawn tractor.
Yeah.
Well, Chris ran it over with his Kubota and didn't break, so now I have a cone over it for the winter time. Just in case, but it's strong enough for the Kubota to run over. so-
They've got a strength to them
Yeah.
because they're gonna be driven on.
Yep.
That's the
So
way it is.
I am all in favor of that, 100%. I think everyone that gets one will be thrilled with it because it's just a great thing. That's actually in our regs now, right?
It's currently in it, so it's just
Yeah.
clarifying the requirement for a 2-compartment tank.
Yeah, okay, so, all right.
And then the last thing was on the last page, so page 13, under Title V inspections, 21.2, which was just, it says reserved now.
Yeah,
It used to it was in the 2016 reg, it was deleted as part of the 2019 revisions. The reg used to require pumping of the tank as part of a Title V inspection,
Mhm.
and that the receipt be attached to the Title V inspection report, and that was removed as part of the revision, so Jim had asked to discuss that, because he wants to put it back on.
If you can't view the bottom of the tank, the Title V report is useless in my opinion. Most of these tanks come through with a wooden plug in the bottom of them for drainage. When they're sitting in the stockyard where Lemires, there's a hole in these tanks so that the rainwater and salt and rainwater, snow and everything, when it warms up, can melt out instead of staying in the tank and breaking the tanks. Because it actually frees up. Because
yeah.
these tanks are
No,
all open at
I
Lemire.
understand that, but
You gotta make sure
you mean
that,
to tell me that they're not plugging these?
what happens is you're supposed to take the wooden plug
That's what I
out.
mean, they're not plugging them?
I don't think so.
Why would they not do
I
that?
can't answer that question.
I would be very concerned with a contractor that wouldn't plug that hole.
I can't answer the question. Not all contractors are created equal.
Well, that is true.
Um,
I don't know, I don't really care either way, but I would put in that, you know, under your inspection, that you check the bottom of the tank to make sure that
That's why
plug.
you have to pump.
Well, even before.
Yeah.
Even before you put anything.
Yeah.
I want that inspected to know that they filled that hole. I'm not waiting until after it's
Yeah.
full. It
What
has to
happens
be
is when the
pumped.
truck pulls up on the site to set the tank in place
Yeah.
and put them together,
Yeah.
they put the bottom in, they run the sealer and the
Yeah.
whole thing, they put the top on, and
Right.
everybody just says bye. They don't take the time to jump in the bottom part of the
Well,
tank.
they're gonna
and
have
seal
to.
it. That's a valid point. I'm glad that that's coming up with you.
They're going to have to from now on.
Good. I like it.
That should be done.
I know a little bit, but I don't know everything.
No, I mean, that should be done.
Yeah.
That's just good
But I-
workmanship.
I still want to have the tank pump part of the
Yeah.
inspection. That's all part of having it, because,
Can we pump it into yours?
pardon me?
Can we just have it pumped into yours?
If the truck will back in and try to reload me, but it's already full, they're gonna have a problem.
What do you think of that, Gavin?
Yeah, I mean, are they not pumping to do Title V
So they'll
inspections?
pump it if it's needed. So, they check the solid levels, scum levels, all that, and if it's needed, they pump. I mean, the majority of them they do anyways, but occasionally there's one where it was, pumped 4 months ago, and they didn't pump it because it didn't need it. Or, came up a lot when, like around 2009, where there was all those foreclosures that might have been inspected and pumped, and then the tank was empty and there wasn't anything to pump, and they were trying to figure out how to resolve it, and they ended up having to come to the board for a variance to just say, we're doing a Title V inspection, but there's nothing to pump, so we're not going to do that part. Is that okay? So it came up a lot then. It hasn't really recently, but right now they're pumping if the tank requires it.
Now, my question to you, they pump it to see if the tank leaks, obviously.
Yeah.
I was,
mean, so,
I
they're looking
was
at-
told that if they pull it, the cover, and it's the water levels where it's supposed to be, it's not leaking,
More than likely, but
you know? I mean,
you're not gonna see, the integrity of the
Yeah.
concrete. So, you can tell if the liquid levels are right, and whether
Right.
you've got, a major leak. You just, if you don't pump it, you won't be able to look at what the concrete looks like.
okay.
So,
Do you recommend that is a good idea?
I don't really
Well, I mean,
care either way. I mean, I think
you're here for a reason.
that
help us.
inspectors are going
Yeah.
and doing their job, and,
Mhm.
and, if the tank requires it, then they're gonna
Yeah.
do it as part of that. So if you want them to pump it, I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. No, so it
But-
doesn't
and
really
not
matter
necessarily
either way.
preference, yeah.
Okay.
I got a little story to tell you. On the job experience from me.
Yeah.
A property in Fitchburg, Mass.
Oh, thank
I
you.
went up to do a Title V inspection on it.
Mhm.
I pulled the covers, the tank was already dug up, pulled the covers, and the effluent was below the outlet of the tank.
I don't know what that means.
The fluid level was below the outlet of
Well,
the
it's
tank.
obvious, you got a leak in it somewhere.
So I said to the guy, I says, you got a leak in this tank. Oh, no, he says, I work down at Hanskin Air Base and I do all my laundry and I shower and I do everything down there, so that's strictly from evaporation or whatever. So I says to him, I says, well, I
Doesn't
says,
evaporate
I
like
have to do this properly for you like I do for everybody else, so go in and turn your water on, and when the fluid gets to the bottom of the outlet, we'll shut it off. I'll be back in the morning to see if it stays there.
Hmm.
He ran about an hour and a half it took to get the water into the tank, because gallons are gallons.
Hmm.
Went over the following morning, opened the cover, and it was back down 3 inches again. I said, you got a bad seal in this tank, or the bottom of it's gone.
Yeah.
He was livid.
Yeah.
Jeff
Well, that's
Jerzik
common
was the Board of
sense.
Health. And I had to go see Jeff, and I said, Jeff, this guy's gonna do anything he can not to have to fix that tank, so govern yourself accordingly.
Hmm.
Well, I didn't get the job because I didn't want it.
Right.
I got paid for my Title V, and then somebody else went over there and put a new tank in for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a proper Title V inspection, and these are things you look for as a Title V inspector. So, and that's why I like to see the tanks pumped
Yeah.
when you're doing the Title V, because that's the proper way to do it.
Okay.
So, govern yourself accordingly, gentlemen.
I mean, I don't think we need to add it in there. That's just how I feel.
Hmm.
I think there's too many things where it's like, if it's a couple of months, if you just bought the place and you had a Title V done, and then, you sell it 6 months later, you gotta repump the tank.
Well,
Do an inspection.
if somebody's going to sell and they can't show you a pumping certificate within the past 5 years, do you think it should be pumped in a case like that?
In the past 5
Yeah,
years.
because somebody's trying to pull the wool over your shoulders, so it hasn't been pumped in at least 5 years. They say, well, I pumped it 4 years ago, but I don't have a receipt.
I would hope that the inspector would look and say, it's been 5 years, we need to pump the tank so I can properly.
Okay, now we're talking the same page.
Yeah, and you guys do also have, it's on page 12 under maintenance, 19.1.
Every 36
requires
months,
pumping
right?
every 36
Yeah.
months, yeah.
Yeah,
So I would hope that the inspector would see that and say, when was the last time you pumped? If it's been a while, then we need to pump to properly inspect.
what the inspector should do, Gavin, is have them call the pumper and request a record of the pump, because the pumpers keep records of all the tanks they pump. So if the homeowner misplaces the receipt for the tank, then the pumper should be able to supply them with another receipt. Then you know it was done within the time frame. Unless they can come up with a receipt. If the pumper's not gonna give a receipt, the pumper didn't pump it.
Yeah,
Especially within the past 10 years. They have receipts for everything.
right.
So find a receipt, show me that it was pumped previously, and we'll govern ourselves accordingly. No receipt, I gotta pump it.
So if we have a Title V inspection report include a pump record
That would,
versus pumping the tank out,
okay, I'll buy that one.
in my mind, we're making people spend an extra $1,000, but then on the other end, we're saving them money too,
Mhm.
at the same time.
That's
Without-
two excellent things you
without
had
doing-
tonight.
He's a smart young man, isn't he?
So you could say something like, you already have the requirement for the 19.1, so you could just say, the most recent pump receipt must be attached to the report to show compliance with 19.1.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
way-
so that way you gotta
That
have a
way-
receipt within 3 years.
That way we know that that tank was
Yeah.
pumped and it's
Yeah.
been properly maintained, and that's
Yeah.
all well and good. That eliminates my thought of having to make sure it's pumped every time you do a Title V. I like that.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that's a good one. Yeah,
So, that
Write
helps
that
for,
down,
you know,
Rick.
refinancing.
yeah,
This happened to me
yeah.
in this house, and we pump every other year because I'm paranoid about that stuff. But we pumped. The next year we refinanced. Refinance requires Title V. You gotta, and we pumped again. And then the next year we were like, okay, now we can wait. But we went 2 years back to back that we ended up pumping. Because, you know, so that saves that piece.
I like it.
So.
All these improvements are phenomenal.
Okay.
All right,
So
so,
what I'll do is I'll put together another draft, so
Yeah.
what I would suggest you guys
We'll
do is
continue
continue
this.
this to the
Yeah.
next meeting. I'll put together a draft in the meantime, I'll get it out to Carla so she can distribute it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we can have a discussion on that draft and see if there's anything else you wanna change, or if that's gonna be what you want.
okay, I think that's a great idea. So to continue the meeting, I have to do what, just,
Make a motion to continue it, it would be 12/13 at 7 o'clock.
okay?
You want that, or you want me to?
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing to 12/13, that's December 13th, at 7 PM.
Can I get a
Still going for
second?
7? Can't get that back earlier?
Um,
Because.
Well, I don't know, how are you doing on time?
Good, it's fine.
No, I mean, as far as.
7 o'clock. Is it too late for you, Rick? Meeting at
It's,
7?
I mean, it'd be nice to meet a little bit earlier, but.
Yes, I think we should try to go back.
I
to
mean, it
6.
was for, you know,
Yeah.
to accommodate Gavin's schedule, so
Sure.
whatever works for him.
yeah, that, we can go earlier, what time do you guys wanna do?
Want to do 6 or 5?
It's up to you.
All right, you keep in mind what we do is gonna affect Carla also.
Yeah, the earlier for her, the better for her.
Yeah.
I've known her a long time.
Yeah,
Is 5 okay, Rick, for you typically, or 6 better?
5:30 or 6 would be nice.
Okay,
wanna stay with the round number and go 6?
let's go 6.
6 is good.
All right, yeah,
Okay, continue your motion?
yes, to 6 o'clock?
As moved. Go for it. Yeah.
So moved.
So for 6,
Yeah,
so I'll make a motion to continue the hearing to December 13th at 6 PM.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye, so moved, okay. One note, it might not start exactly at 6 for the hearing. We may have to do roll call and, you know, other things before, but,
Yeah, as long as it's later and not early, it's.
yeah, yeah, okay. Just trying to be, you know, right there so we don't come in and someone go, hey, what are you guys doing? You're having a roll call instead of the meeting. All right, so now, that was a great thing, fellas. Good
Yes,
job.
excellent.
Good job.
Excellent.
Okay, so we took care of that. We got other permits. Rick, we just did 100,
Yep.
100, so let's move on. COVID update. We still at
So,
10?
yeah, just the numbers, so the last one came out November 24th, 10 cases in
Still
Townsend.
10.
And then yesterday, we had done the booster clinic over at the library, so you said 13 people.
Yeah, we ended up with 13. I was pretty happy
So,
with that.
more than, we had, I think, 5 that pre-registered, so
Yeah.
we got a few walk-ins that
Yeah.
bumped it up a little bit.
Yeah, so I was pretty happy about that. We have needle kiosks for seniors.
Kiosk bees.
Yeah. I know Kyle had talked to us about this before, because she was trying to think of a way to help the seniors. I think we're doing, I believe it's $5,
$5.
Yeah, $5. Would you guys like to see something change on that? As
I
far
think
as,
5 is fair.
as far as changing for seniors,
I think $5 is
So
fair.
you guys,
Yeah.
I think, I kind of talked about it a little bit last
Yeah.
meeting, but you guys obviously have disposal costs that go along with
Right.
it, and then the administrative costs for Carla too.
Yeah.
So I think, $5 is probably still a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Based
and
on
what are you
everything.
guys charging?
We charge $5 too. So ours are, I think they're 4-quart containers.
Yeah, I think,
you guys
well,
do.
our containers are going up in size.
Yeah.
We bought the small ones, because that's all that could fit from that vendor. Now we have a new vendor, so we have bigger
Yeah,
containers, so.
so, I mean, it's
Yeah.
still, for us, it's it's a loss. We're subsidizing it.
Yeah, well, we
and
can't,
I'm sure you guys are
unfortunately,
probably
we
doing the
can't
same.
do that, but,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not making money, we can't lose money.
Well, exactly, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
less than $5 isn't gonna cover your cost, that would be my concern.
Yeah,
Yeah, if I say leave it at $5.
all right, so we'll go with, can we get a motion to keep that the same, just for prosperity?
I'll make a motion to keep the needle kiosk fees
At $5.
at $5.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And, Rick, I think that would be it for you.
All right, yeah.
Thank you.
Nice
Nice
Great
job.
See you in a couple
Thank you
weeks.
very,
Yeah, no
very
problem.
much.
Yeah, thanks a
that
lot, I
over to you guys.
appreciate that. All right, so invoices, let me see what we got. We have a couple. This one looks like it is for... Lord and Oil, or actually probably propane for the recycle center. And-
Yeah.
Boy, that stuff ain't cheap anymore, huh? $293.
How many gallons?
It, 395, total 95. 77.30.
That must have been empty from all summer.
Yeah, yeah,
We gotta keep the heat on up there. We got water pipes in the building.
yeah, wow, okay. I don't know how long that lasts, but
Depends on how cold it gets.
yeah, well, yeah. And I'm sure in the winter, they're not gonna leave that garage door open very long.
I hope
either.
not.
Okay, and this one is for Staples. What do we get from Staples? Budget Center, Health. I hope there's more of a description than that. I know Kyle knows exactly what these are. There's two of them that says HP 926
Printer ink.
XL.
Printer ink.
Is that what that is? Okay, so we,
HP, Hewlett Packard.
okay. All right, so we got ink. We got, well, this is all the same invoice, $73. Okay, yeah, so that's ink. And we can pay the bills, that's good. I do not see any minutes, unless we read through the book, but I would prefer,
No. Let her
this is
give us the
September.
minutes.
Actually, she left it open on that page so we could read through it if you really wanted to, but I think what we'll do is we'll move the minutes,
To the next meeting.
yeah, to the next meeting, which is the 13th at 6 PM.
15th at 6 p.m.
Yeah, 6 PM, okay, I'll make sure these go back in our desk. Recycle center update, I know the recycle center was closed last week, so I have nothing on it. I guess we'll just go with, oh, I can do this, okay, let me tell you, I was upstairs, and I know, and I was talking to Sabrina, because Eric wasn't in, about getting internet down at the recycle center, because they have it in the budget to pay for all the internet. You know, obviously ours is not going to be public internet, you know, for the public to come in and use, it'll just be like, private. So that we can get a camera or two there, so we can keep an eye on the gate, because people are really starting to throw shit around again. You know, and it's like I explained to her, and she's gonna explain to Eric, is that with us being self-funded, every piece that's thrown over costs us money to get rid of.
That's correct.
The mattresses, if they're left out in the rain or the snow, will end up costing us $350 each mattress and box spring that we cannot recycle. We can't afford that.
No.
We need to have these cameras so that we can actually see, record, and send either the police down to, with the evidence, showing them do this, or we'll call and tell them to come pay. I mean, I'm just trying to be fair to the public, you know, but we can't absorb all this cost ourselves,
Yeah.
being, you know, an entity that pays for
No.
itself.
Well,
We don't-
We can't do that.
They will come and pay for
Yeah.
the mattresses and pay their citation.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, no, yeah, they're gonna pay,
Yeah.
yeah.
We
But
don't
I'm-
have a cable to run out.
There's no internet there, no
but
cable
Can
there.
we get a solar powered camera that will work off of that internet?
We can. We can, as long as we have internet. We have to have internet, or a camera is just
Okay,
a
but
camera.
You said we can or we can't?
No,
With the internet, we can,
we
can't we?
can, yes.
Okay.
That's our goal.
All right.
So that we can have it set up. And I mean, we don't need $5,000 cameras. I
No,
mean,
no.
We can just go buy a Blink camera or a, you know, a Ring camera or something that will
It's gotta be wireless
alert.
though.
Yeah, oh yeah, wireless.
It's
Yep,
gotta
the
be
Blinks
solar
are-
powered.
Yep, well, it doesn't have to be solar powered.
Batteries go dead.
Yeah, no, I know they go dead and you change them. These cameras that I have and he has will tell you when the batteries are dying.
And they last
The 2 years.
2 years.
Oh, really? Okay, see, that's technology I don't know
Yeah.
about.
Legitimately last.
This is when I have to be quiet.
Yeah.
They're pretty good
Yeah,
now.
they're pretty good, and those are very low grade cameras. We may be able to, you know, with some kind of a grant or something, we can come up with something maybe a little better, you know? But it would be a
What are you
wireless
saying
camera.
all the time at the end of all your statements here?
Yes, I know, I'm not trying to, believe me.
Gavin's watching you too.
I know he is. Now you got me all screwed up.
Give me a challenge.
But anyway.
Slow
so-
down and think.
Yes, I know. So this is our goal. This will help protect ourselves. I don't know if there's grant money to cover cameras. I
There's gotta be a slush fund someplace, Kyle, that can come up with the money for that.
Yeah.
We're not talking thousands.
no. I just, you know, I'm
It
just
it
throwing
should be
ideas.
done, it should be done as sooner than
Yeah.
later.
Well, like I said, I talked to Sabrina tonight.
Yeah.
She's gonna talk to Eric tomorrow. I may, if I have a chance, I'll swing in and see him, but I might not be. You know, we're a little busy at work right now. so.
Another week or 10 days won't hurt anything,
Well,
but it'd be nice
it's-
before real bad weather.
Well, it's not just that, Jim. It's the longer we delay,
Becoming a problem.
we're having a problem, and it isn't like we'll go, all right, you can have internet. Now you've got to get them to actually come and put it in.
Correct.
Then we've got to get cameras. So you're talking,
Typical old government problems.
yeah, it's probably a month once we actually decide that we can have this before anything's done.
At least the ball's in motion.
Yes, and that's my update for
Okay,
the thing. And we just keep working at this, and we've improved it so much, and we're gonna keep doing it until it's the best in the country.
you watch what's gonna happen in time, they're gonna follow what we've done.
I hope so. All right, so that's our recycle update, future agendas, stable regulations. We need to have a joint meeting with all the other departments. This is something I think we're gonna have to set up. Well, Jim's not going anywhere, so we could probably
This
do
should
it.
go into
Yeah.
February or March at this
Yeah.
stage of the game. 'Cause
We can put a document out to the other boards
Yeah.
to say, what are your thoughts on a revision of the stable regulations to include, et cetera.
Yeah, but I also want to see them face to face too, because have been on other boards. A a lot of times, like even with us, we'll get the recommendations, and where it doesn't affect our board, we either write no comment or something. They may do the same thing,
Sure.
because they're not in charge of that, we are.
Yeah.
If we have a meeting with them, we can go over just more than stable regulations.
Yeah.
I think this town needs, and this is just my opinion, the way things are set up right now, it's chaos. There's no set where you want to develop a property, okay? You know, we'll get people come in with a septic thing and a well, but they haven't even gone to planning to get approval to use the property or the change of use. There needs to be a setup so that everybody goes somewhere.
A proper protocol to make things
Yes, so that we either start at planning or the building commissioner or wherever it's gonna start before it filters down to each board, whether it goes from planning to conservation to us, to the building department, or the building department to us, to conservation. However it's decided between all the boards, but it needs to be something. It has to be consistent. This, every once in a while, we'll run into someone will come to us. Just for an example, our friend here with the dog park, dog kennel. He hasn't even got change of views from the planning board yet. Now, once he does that, does he still have to go to the building department, or did he already do that? See, there's no way for this to work
There's no
unless.
list that you can
Yeah,
follow.
there's nothing set up that says the right way to do this for the town to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why I want to meet with all the boards too, so we can sit down and come up with something, you know? So that we all agree where it starts and where it finishes. It doesn't matter who's in order, as long as we all agree that that's what it's gonna be. So when they come to our board, we'll have to make up a checklist, like, oh, you went here, you went there. Bring it with you and show us where you went before we can make a decision on you. You have to go through that list of boards wherever
And
you have
that's
to
guidance
go.
for them to go to
Yeah.
each board individually in the protocol that is required.
So that way, you know,
Yeah.
it's not jumping around, you know, trying to, you know, bamboozle someone else to get something done. That's my opinion,
I like it.
okay? So we'll work on that, we'll have to do something. I think I'd rather do that before, well, maybe after the new year, I guess.
Yeah, wait till after the new year.
Yeah.
There's too much stuff
Yeah.
going on in the
But
month of December.
it's gonna be a little difficult to get all the boards together.
Can only
you
do the
know.
best we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the logistics are gonna be a little tough with everybody. You gotta make sure that, you know, that Gavin can get there, as well as, I don't know who else works nights and what days everybody has meetings that we can set up to have something in the Great Hall so that we can all sit and talk to each other. And,
makes sense.
we'll, I guess,
Let's do it for
So-
St. Patrick's Day. We'll have a party with corned beef.
I always wanted to have a beer and pizza night, but, you know, no one ever wants to go for that.
Yeah,
A beer and pizza.
yeah.
A beer and pizza night.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 or 5 beers in, people will be yelling at each other, throwing chairs. That'll be a blast.
That sounds like a good time.
Gavin will be there.
Yep.
Sounds like a good time.
Only if you throw the first chair.
I can't promise that.
All right, guys. So our next meeting is on the 13th at 6 p.m.
Correct.
Can I get a motion to close, please?
I'm making a motion to close the meeting at 8:17.
And I'll second that.
Woohoo! All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Tis a vote.
Very good, gentlemen. Thank you.